What's up, guys? Coming to you from the grill. Just walking on the stretch right now, going into town as usual. And I want to use the opportunity to talk about solo travel. Is it worth it? No, many people have different reasons for traveling. I've met people here who they just come to party and drink. Some people come to relax. And essentially, I find that when you're traveling, there are usually two main goals, right? You're going away from something or you're going towards something. Meaning you're traveling to leave where you are and relax, or you're traveling to learn more and experience more. I found that there's no real in between, right? You could be traveling just to chill, which is one, or you could be traveling to explore, which is two. So those are the two types of travelers that I've encountered. And one of the benefits of any kind of traveling, I think, is discovery, right? Now, when it comes to solo travel, I've solo traveled so far to maybe 7 countries. Home Sweet Home Resort. It definitely looks like somebody's house. Alright, so I've solo traveled to, I think, 7 countries, right? And there are a couple things that you immediately learn when you're doing solo travel, right? First thing is that whatever personality you have comes out immediately. Like whatever your personality traits are. What I mean is that if you're like a naturally introverted person and you go into a hostel full of like raucous, rowdy people, full of hormones, jumping at each other, drinking all night, smoking all day, going to the beach, making love at night, and you're not that kind of person, you're gonna feel it, right? You're gonna feel it in your system, right? And you're gonna have to adapt if you want to enjoy the trip the way you think you want to enjoy the trip. So that's the first thing, right? Your personality comes out. If you're an extrovert, it's gonna jump out at you. Like your extroverted side is just gonna come out, and you're gonna notice people like you. New Moon Cottage rooms and facilities. Alright, so if you're an extroverted person, like it's gonna come out. And those are gonna be some of the first things that get triggered. Is your personality, right? And the way you perceive those around you. Because when we're not traveling, we're kind of sheltered in our personality by our work, our peer group, or family situation. We're sheltered, you know what I'm saying? And we don't need to necessarily figure it out. But when you're completely alone in a brand new country, walking around on your own, your personality comes out. And it's very important to understand this because your personality will dictate exactly how you handle your trip, which is the next point. Oops. Alright, so let's talk about solo travel and some of the benefits of solo traveling, right? Alright, so there are a couple ways to look at this. Because usually when you're traveling, the main things you... Yo, yesterday these dogs were like clawing through the fence trying to eat me. Alright, so let's talk about the benefits of solo travel, right? So I'd say one of the first things, right? Or one of the main things is that you're gonna learn like a lot of social dynamics right away. When you're traveling, especially if you're staying in like hostels, even hotels and resorts, the less private your atmosphere is, the more you learn about people. So if you're in a hostel, you're gonna meet probably dozens of different personality types as you go from hostel to hostel. You're gonna immediately identify who the extroverts are, the introverts, the in-between people, and you're gonna get a sense of these type of people generally, because as you travel you're gonna keep running into the same type of people, just with different faces, names, and bodies. So you become very socially aware of people. So in the beginning, you're probably in a hostel, like, oh my god, I'm in Germany and I'm meeting all these people and I'm gonna hang out with this one and that one, that one. But then what happens ultimately is that after a while you realize that one guy's a raging narcissist who just wants to sleep with all the women he meets. Another person is just like a creep who's running away from his life. Another girl is some trust fund kid who just came to hostel because you couldn't bother to go to a resort. And you start to learn about the different personality types of people. And the more you travel, the more you understand that vibration. And then as you understand the vibration, what happens is that you start to understand yourself a lot better. That's it, boss. You start to understand yourself a lot better. Because you now start to gravitate more or less towards the people that you want to be around when you're traveling. So I'd say when you're younger and you're new to traveling, everything is exciting probably for a couple of years. But after a while, you understand that there are just these different kinds of people with different agendas, and then it's like, is my agenda part of their agenda, right? And after a while, you're just gonna learn about different kinds of people, the kind of people you don't want to hang with, the kind of people that you don't want to be around in a bar situation because they might get into fights and brawls, the kind of dudes you don't want to get too close to because they're probably creepy. You know what I mean? I want to say creepy, I mean creepy with women. So in other words, if I'm with this guy and we're going out and he's a creep, a woman I've never met before is gonna assume I'm a creep too, you understand? So you learn all these things when you're traveling, and it becomes very, very easy to process after a while. And when you're a seasoned traveler, you learn a lot about people very fast, right? So that's the second thing. Oops. All right, so third thing, I think the third thing that you get from, oh, it's a nice view around here, man. Look at this. This is nice. Nothing like the sea. Alright, so the third thing you get is your own boldness. Now, this varies from person to person. Obviously, I've been to a bunch of countries documenting myself, walking around talking, and it's not easy, you know. In the beginning, pull out the camera, you're like, who's watching me, you know? But after a while, you don't care because you're like, I'm in a country, nobody knows me, nobody cares. You see me, if I don't shoot this now, I'm gonna have problems later. So, even if you're not taking videos, you become more bold because you have to be in this foreign environment, doing foreign things. You have to probably trust people you don't know. You know, recommendations from people at the hotel, hostel, locals. You know, you're gonna, you know what I'm saying? You have to step out boldly. You have to explore. You know, a lot of people don't do that because they just hide in their hotel or in their hostel where they don't go too far. But as a solo traveler, you're gonna realize how much choice you actually have. So if I wanna, for example, go down there today all the way down to 7 Mile Beach, it's my decision based on my mood. And if I just wanna eat some food and go back to where I'm staying, that's it. So the more bold I am in my journey, is up to me. And then as the adventure gets better and better, you learn more boldness. In fact, just picking up and taking a flight to some far-off country is being extremely bold. So you're gonna start to get that sense of yourself as well. Like, I mean, I've forgotten it at times. Because, you know, sometimes there are years between traveling. Like, I haven't done traveling or videos like this for a long time. And you have years between traveling, and sometimes you feel like you lose your boldness. Like, oh, I was in Egypt and I was in Korea and I'm just this different. No, it's still there. It's just you have to trigger it, right? Trigger your own boldness. So that's another thing, is that you step out into the unknown and you learn that you're more courageous than you can realize. You're more courageous, you have more in you, and you're braver than you think. So that's the third thing, is that you gain a sense of your own bravery. You know what I mean? Because let's say you live in Utah or Japan and you've never left the country, and you decide to go to like India or Spain or just somewhere else where you don't speak the language, you can't read what's around you, but you go. That's boldness, that's bravery, right? And that's the third thing I think you learn from solo traveling, is your own boldness. I'm gonna walk behind here and talk about the next point, right? My buddy runner, no. All right, so the next thing I think that solo travel gives you is that it forces you to adapt, right? It forces you to step out of several comfort zones that a normal life in most countries gives you, right? It just forces you to be conservative with what you eat, with what you spend, with how you use your energy during the day, how you deal with people, right? If you're cloistered away in a luxury villa with staff and everything you need, you don't learn anything. So you're just relaxing. But if you're, let's say, in an Airbnb in the middle of Medellin, and you know you're not going to spend all day in your apartment, and you need to go down the road to eat and go to the supermarket to buy food, you have to use a little Spanish. Maybe you go to some language exchanges or dancing classes and step out of your comfort zone, right? You can't hide. And I think that's what solo travel also gives you. It's like it forces you to adapt, because your mission is to go and learn and experience more. And if you put yourself into a position where you have to learn more and do more, you're forced to adapt, and your brain starts going to these different places never went before, and you learn all these new things. You know what I'm saying? It's very fascinating, right? So if I'm in Japan and I can't speak Japanese, and I'm in a convenience store trying to order something, I need to know some basics. If I'm in Medellin trying to go around, I'm gonna have to use some basic Spanish because everybody speaks Spanish, right? It forces you to adapt. All right, so lastly, I'll say one of the most powerful things you learn from solo traveling is perspective. Your world in your daily life isn't as big as you think it is when you step out into the wider world, you know what I mean? And it's a fascinating thing. It's like, you know, you might leave a lot of stress and problems in your hometown or your home city, and you'll be surprised how different you feel as soon as you sit on a plane or as soon as you hop on that train out of town. You just reset. And what I think happens is that you start to realize how small your world actually is compared to the real world. I'm not saying your problems aren't important, but they become far less important when you're away from them. You know, everybody can't travel consistently, like, you know, every day. But right, let me turn this off. I see some cops. I don't want the cops harassing me with my camera. Yeah, I wasn't trying to walk past the cops recording the whole time. I didn't want to make them nervous. Yeah, man, so you gain perspective, right? You just, yo, there's so many roads here I just want to explore, but I don't have the energy to explore everywhere. You gain perspective, right? Because even in my life, like I said, the reason why I came down here, which is Negril, which is the furthermost point of the island, it's really far from Kingston. I came here because I was so stressed in Kingston, and I had to get away. Now, initially I was like, oh, you're just going to another part of Jamaica, you're still in Jamaica. Yeah, but I'm not around whatever things were really stressing me. And I've also gotten to develop some new perspectives on everything. You know what I mean? I've spent time relaxing, I've spent time making videos, I've spent time, you know, sleeping and resting in just a brand new environment. And that gives me perspective, you understand? So when you're thinking about like solo travel and the benefits, there are multiple benefits. I'll do another video, but these are four of the things I think are the most common and important. You get me? The hidden benefits that you get from doing what you do. You learn a lot about yourself, and it's not just about like traveling and meeting girls and this and that. Like, if that's what you want, that's what you're gonna get, and you will learn from that as well, right? I think that falls into part 2 about, you know, personality types or whatever, where I said you're gonna meet, your personality is gonna come out. If you're trying to rage and party and just meet people and hang with everybody, it's gonna like explode and you're gonna like love it. If you're more introverted, you know, that's gonna come out, but then you're gonna wanna probably have to adapt. So a lot of introverted people do like solo traveling and they're like, oh man, I've changed so much, you get me? So again, it's all ties into perspective, which is the last thing you get, because when you go home, when you come back from your trip, you've learned so much about yourself and your life and the things that you want to do or don't want to do. You see me? All right, so moving on. Heading into Negril now.